Gotham Knights' most recent gameplay demo gave us major insight into what the title has to offer players when it releases this October. The demo itself is 13 minutes and covers a lot. Everything from some story tidbits to the game's customization is touched on. Today though, let's turn the dial way up and focus in on the fighting. It's time to break down the action RPG combat of Gotham Knights. Since the gameplay demo, a lot of comparisons have been made between Gotham Knights and the Batman Arkham games, particularly pertaining to combat. But I think what's being overlooked when making just a one-to-one comparison is how differently the two titles are designed. It's not just about the aesthetics of combat, but more importantly, how combat is constructed and why. All of the Batman Arkham games are firmly rooted in the style of game being single-player action-adventure. Gotham Knights supports up to 2 players in co-op and is an action RPG. So while at first glance these two styles may seem pretty similar, they offer several small areas in which they diverge that changes how combat flows. Let's take a look at Gotham Knights and break it all down as we go. After showcasing that you can attack from gliding, we see that Nightwing fights in a familiar fashion by leaning into his more acrobatic tendencies. He looks built for handling large groups at once and distributing damage between foes to keep some momentum going. He even has access to his wrist darts, which can be used to destroy nearby canisters. Now Red Hood is all about using his non-lethal rounds to keep enemies at range. Even up close, we see him lean more into shooting than sparring. And when firing, he can switch between enemies without moving from where he is on the battlefield. We do see some hand-to-hand combat with him, but nothing like the other heroes. Also, like Nightwing's wrist darts, you can aim in with Red Hood's guns for greater accuracy. We also see that properly timed strikes fill up a meter in the bottom right, called your momentum bar. This allows you to use various special moves. These special moves include Red Hood's barrage attack, which pushes back larger foes, and Nightwing's cryo blast, which can freeze enemies momentarily. Nightwing also has a stun attack that you can see here that looks like it can be used twice before entering a cooldown. Something of note for all the new gameplay is that the developers have tweaked the HUD a bit. In the 2020 gameplay demo with Batgirl and Robin, we saw things like enemy levels, health bars, and damage numbers popping up. That isn't the case this time around, but remember, those things are still present. These bad guys do still have levels and health bars in the works, you just can't see them thanks to some customization. It's all about what you want to have on screen, so if you miss those things, you can just turn them back on. Throughout this demo, we can see clear white indicators for countering or parrying basic attacks, along with red indicators showing that an attack or combo is unblockable and has to be dodged. The mix of these attack indicators, special moves, and damage numbers, plus the fact that there's no combo meter in the corner, all play into this game's action RPG foundation. The best way to explain this is taking a look at another action RPG that's combat system is designed in a similar vein, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Here we see that all the features we just touched on are present. Enemies with white indicators can be parried, their red attacks can't, and by building up a meter below, I can use special attacks. All the while, damage numbers and status effects are popping up when fighting. Now, these two games look nothing alike, but they are constructed on similar ideas. Instead of Gotham Knights just adapting the free-flow combat system from previous Batman games, it's acting as sort of a blend between Arkham and action RPGs to give players a greater sense of tactical combat and catering the carnage to your preferred playstyle. We may both play Nightwing the most, but how we play Nightwing may look very different. That is, if all the RPG elements come together, which still remains to be seen. Now, I'm not saying you need to like this change for combat, I'm just trying to explain why it's different. Even with all those explanations, I think there could be more to showcase these characters, specifically Red Hood. Nightwing combat scenarios display his abilities well, but Red Hood does take a lot of hits to the point where he needs to heal during a fight. Also, it felt like a lot of Red Hood's attacks just lacked weight or momentum behind them. This really wasn't an issue when it came to Nightwing though. I also feel that showcasing the counter parry system more directly would have been beneficial. Now when taken as a whole, I really like this game's combat that we've seen across the two demos. After climbing the leaderboards in every Arkham game and loving every second of that, I'm glad we're getting a different style of combat here. Now it's not entirely different, mind you, but you get the idea. I hope this game carries over the challenge mode system we had previously, but either way, I can't wait to drop into Gotham with a friend and see what the city has in store. In my next video, I'm going to be diving deep into the RPG side of action RPG. This means I'll be covering customization, gear, stats, the works, so if you don't want to miss that, be sure to subscribe. As for today, that's all I got, so just be excellent to each other.